Hi everyone, another journey, and today's journey takes us to a unique journey. This journey is about a dedicated father. He's full of mindfulness and he's a big advocate for it. He's an entrepreneur, passionate about helping others reduce stress and live balanced lives. After discovering mindfulness at a quite late age, in my opinion, at the age of 26, to overcome depression, our guest pursued a master's degree in mindfulness at Lesley University. Our guest is also the creator of Mindful Buddy, which he will talk about, which is an AI-powered meditation app designed to help busy individuals find mindful moments. When he's not working on his app or spending time with his two young sons, our guest enjoys fitness and sharing his journey to inspire others to embrace mindfulness with purpose and presence. So we welcome Jeremy to the journey.
Thank you so much, David. I
You're
appreciate
welcome. Now, I've come across a lot of things in my life, and obviously I'm 41 now, so I'm still learning a lot of things. And I know mindfulness is a thing that people nowadays do appreciate because it is taking that time out from themselves. But your earliest memories, you was talking about depression and life was bad. But if you want to talk about it, can you share your earliest memories that started your journey?
Yes. So at the time I was in a corporate job doing sales and it was very stressful. Number one, because it was commission only, so there was a lot of pressure, and if I don't make sales, then I don't get a paycheck. And number two, because there was a lot of people around me who were having a lot of success. So it was very easy to get in this comparison mode where I was comparing my results against their results. And when my results weren't as good as their results, it was very easy to fall into a depression because I felt that I should be getting those same type of results. And one of my closest friends, who I'm still very close with today, who I consider a best friend, I at the time I became very envious of them and just pure jealousy over the results that they were getting in their life and the success that they were finding. And I used them as my scapegoat for why I wasn't where I wanted to be in my own life. And at the time, I was lacking a lot of purpose for my own life. And it was just very ego driven. So I sort of hit a rock bottom for myself and realized that my relationship with my wife at the time was really suffering because of my attitude and outlook on things at the time. So I turned to meditation. It was probably something I saw online, or I'm not exactly sure why I decided to start practicing meditation. But I turned to an app, and I started noticing after I meditated, I did feel more calm. So I was like, "There's something here," and I just continued to use the app, and that was really how I started my journey, was just using an app and noticing those benefits. But after time, I became a little bit more curious of it, which led to me where I'm at now, but
Yeah.
maybe more of that in a little bit.
Yeah, so obviously, when you are in that mindset and being jealous, did you always seek the validation to say, "Look at me" a lot?
I will say that I am a people pleaser. Um, so I think in that way of wanting to make people happy, um, I don't know. I mean, I sometimes like the spotlight on myself. I don't know if I'm always so much of like, look at me, and it always has to be about me in that regard. But I think I was looking for a certain outcome in life, a certain lifestyle, and that person had what I thought was the lifestyle I wanted.
Mm,
And I was they had it in my mind, and I didn't have it, and it just grew into this really deep jealousy and envy. I think jealousy really turns into envy over time if you let it that seed develop roots,
yeah,
and which I did.
and obviously the roots, when they take hold, they will hold on, and it's a solid basis.
Yes, 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 and it became very unhealthy for me and led to me doing habits that were not good for myself. Alcohol, and ultimately just unhealthy communication with my partner and responding in ways that were short, cutting them short. I was not patient and very selfish at the time. So it was a really good time to reflect, and I think meditation really taught me that ability to slow down, to speed up. I think sometimes in life we want certain things and we think that we should have them quicker than maybe we're getting them. And that can drive us to making decisions that ultimately lead us into worse positions than maybe we are now just because we're trying to rush to get the results so quickly.
Yeah, and obviously the results I learned myself, if you do things quickly, you end up drowning in the depth of unknown because it is so unknown. And if you got no one around you, if you got no way of coping, it is a more difficult way of grasping.
Yes. Yeah, and I definitely felt that sense at that time. And even though I had people all around me, I felt lonely because ultimately I wasn't being honest with myself.
And that's the key thing. You've got to be honest with yourself. When you know something's up, you've got to hold your hands up and say, yes, I need help.
Absolutely. I agree.
So going into the present, and obviously you've overcome a lot of things. You went to university, you got your, qualifications. Did you feel like it was a still difficult challenge in every day, or did you find it was getting easier because you've learned, you built from that, and you was able to adapt because of meditation?
Yes, it does become easier. I think the hardest thing in life is developing the habit in anything, right? So it's not just meditation. It could be eating healthy habits, right? It could be going to the gym. It could be learning a new skill. Whatever it is in life, developing that habit is ultimately the hardest thing to do, because it's saying that I'm going to change how I'm currently living my life. I'm going to introduce something new that's maybe difficult, or unpleasant in some way, but it's going to help me get a better outcome than I'm getting right now. So with meditation, in the beginning, it's not something you naturally think of doing in your day. So now we have to find a time in the day to do that. So that's what I love about my app, Mindful Buddy. And like really the biggest use case for it was just helping busy individuals find time in their day to actually meditate. Um, because that is such a challenge for us. Because when we're waking up and we're taking care of the kids and we're rushing off to work and we're just trying to scarf down some breakfast in between driving and getting to work, and then we're at work, we're dealing with the calls, the boss, the assignments. We get back into our call just to head into some rush hour traffic to get home, to get to some kids that might be a little bit ungrateful and they're shouting and they're yelling, and you got to make dinner, and right, and it's like the cycle just continues, and then finally you just get to come back, to your room at 9 p.m. and turn on your favorite television show for an hour or 2 hours, and then you fall asleep, and it's like the cycle repeats. And the only thing we look forward to is then the weekend. And even sometimes that's chaotic with trips to the mall and running kids around to different sporting events. And it just never seems like you get that break. But so that habit, right? And then when we sit down to meditate, when we finally are like, enough is enough, I need to take a break somehow, some way. You take a break, you sit down for 1 minute, and then what happens, David?
Yeah, exactly. Something.
All the thoughts come, and it's like the to-do list pops up, right? Oh my gosh, I forgot I had to throw the laundry in or something, right? And it's
Yep.
like that, and it's like, oh, forget it. I just can't meditate,
And
right?
you
And that's
put
what
and
we'll,
you put and you put it off, and it's like I'll do it, and I'll do it, and then I do it. Never happens.
and then we kind of get that cognitive dissonance of just like telling ourselves the lie that like I can't do it. Like, oh, I guess I'm just not a person who can meditate. Right? And that's a lie because we all can meditate.
Yeah.
Even I have ADHD, and maybe it's not the most severe case of ADHD. No, there's probably a lot more severe cases out there, but I would say the most general public can can meditate for sure. There might be some neurocognitive disorders out there where that might prevent you from meditating. Not saying can't put every person in that population, but I would say the vast majority of people, and we all self-diagnose ourselves of ADHD, especially today with all the screen scrolling. Like we all probably have some form of ADHD
Yeah.
in today's day and age.
And also, I've been been looking into this a lot as well. People say about ADHD is the main common thing that people do show traits of, but then there's traits of autism linked with that as well, possibly.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, that's
certain
interesting.
because of routines, you get set in your routine. Yes, you got the ADHD, which makes your mind overthink, but you show traits of autism because you are fixed in doing certain things within that ADHD.
Right. I can
So,
def I haven't heard that before, but I that makes complete sense.
and I'm not saying you show, or I show traits of autism, but it's just those elements that you got to look at. It's like I do this constantly. You look at, for example, you play with your fingers a lot, or you got a tick, or you just want to completely clean up. You do that all the time. That's a trait of autism because it's a routine that you're used to.
Right. Right. Yeah, one thing I do all the time is like shake my leg, right? And I won't
Yeah,
even be consciously aware of it, right? But it's
yeah,
like my body's need to move in some capacity,
yeah,
right?
and
But I'll notice myself and I can stop it. I can consciously become aware of it and I can be like, okay, and I'll feel the urge to want to shake my leg. Like I feel that impulse to want to just begin the shaking of the leg. But I
as
can become,
as my late grandmother used to say, it's itchy feet. You want to do something all the time.
yes,
And
literally.
that's the frustrating thing when you're doing nothing. Like when I do nothing, I want to do something. It's like I want to always actively go somewhere, and I can't always be that way, but I want to be. It's just about the money, and then it does fall into the category of money half the time, and that's what stops me from thinking over time to say, okay, we can do this because it's not about spending money to go out every time. You can do something at home, but then when you do something at home, your mind overthinks, and then you're in the regression of thinking bad thoughts, negative thoughts, and
Exactly.
then
And it's a full
people,
cycle, right? And it
yeah,
just is a cycle that repeats. So there's,
you look at the clock, everything starts at 12 o'clock. On average, you're doing certain things like 12 to 2, you're doing this, 2 to 4, you're doing this. In the mindset, in your parents' cases, you've got the children to factor. So you've got to work around your children, and then you're still like cooking them dinner, getting them ready for a bath, or making sure they have a shower, making sure they tucked up in bed. When's the time for you?
hmm.
So it's a constant clock where you're doing set routines at certain times, and 2 o'clock you're doing that routine, 2:30 doing that thing, 3 o'clock I'm picking up the kids from school, for example. You get that routine,
So true. And I
and
think there's a tool that I've used before. It's called the 15-minute miracle. And what it is you look at your day from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. And you could take a basic Excel sheet and you could put increments of 15 minutes. So you start with 6 a.m., 6:15, 6:30, 6:45, 7 o'clock, 7:15, all the way to 10 p.m. And you print out 7 sheets with that. So from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. for each day of the week, 7 of those. So every day of the week, you can fill it out. So as you wake up, each 15-minute increment, you're going to fill in exactly what you were doing in that 15 minutes. So if you woke up at 7 a.m., then from 6 to 7, you just put sleeping. Like you don't have to fill in every box sleeping, but you could just draw like a line that said sleeping, right? And then let's say 7, wake up, brush teeth, take shower, go to gym, whatever it is, right? And you're just going to fill in the blanks, right? As you go throughout the day. Now, you might go through a 2 hour window where you're working and you didn't fill in the sheet every 15 minutes. That's okay. Just put working for that 2 hour block, right? But then if you're driving for 15 minutes, put driving for 15 minutes, right? If you were texting for 5 minutes, put texting slash working in that 15 minutes, right? Put texting
yeah.
5, working 10. But what's going to happen is a lot of the times we all believe we're much busier than we really are. We just don't actually realize we're wasting a lot of time on trivial activities that aren't actually meaningful to us.
Yeah.
So we actually do have a lot more time in our day than we actually realize. And even during work, we're not productive 100% of the time during work. There's many times we check out, there's many times we get distracted, there's many times we turn to the news or talk to a friend, talk to a coworker. So it's not like we're just working 100% of the time, even while at work, right? So it's like this moment of clarity and this moment of transparency and honesty that we really need to have with ourselves because we lie to ourselves and have what's known as cognitive dissonance, right? So we can feel as if what we're doing is good enough and maintain the status quo because we want to protect our ego,
Yeah.
right? We don't want to hurt our ego. But what we need to do is come to the honest truth. If we're not happy with the results in our life, we need to gain awareness. And one of the ways we can gain awareness is through meditation, but also with reflection and journaling, but just to really look at our schedule and see what are we doing throughout the day. Because most of us probably don't even know. Like you might have an idea, but you probably don't have an account for everything you're doing throughout the day. So it's a really revealing exercise. And you do that for 7 days. And then the next 7 days, you print out another seven set of sheets. And then you intentionally write out exactly what you're going to be doing every 15-minute increment. And of course, some things might be an hour, some things might be 2 hours, some things might be, work. But even at work, like what are you doing at work? It's not just work, and you're not only working at work, right? So if you had a 15-minute side conversation when you meant to go to the faxer and it turned into this other thing, right? Write that down, right? If you got distracted and went on social media for 10 minutes at work, write that down,
Mm.
right? But for the last 7 days, so the first 7 days, you're just writing it as you go. For the next 7 days, you're actually intentionally now planning your day. And what this is doing is teaching you time management. And it's also revealing where our dead space in the day is because we all have so much dead space in the day. So making 5 minutes, 10 minutes, people say I don't have time. What you could do though is wake up 5 or 10 minutes earlier. You could go five to bed 5 or 10 minutes late. We stay up an hour later for the show. Why can't we take 10 minutes for ourselves?
Yeah.
Like with the show, all we're doing is we're numbing it out, but it's not a long-term solution. So you're always going to need to fill that void with something, right? To numb the reality of our life. But with meditation, it is difficult. But what we realize through meditation is that we are not our thoughts.
Yeah.
And when we realize that we are not the victim of our thoughts and that we can be free of our thoughts, we get to choose whether or not we give our thoughts power or not.
Mhm.
And I think that's a powerful thing is like recognizing that our thoughts don't have power over us. Our thoughts are not real. It's a delusion. And when can we recognize our thoughts as delusions, we can then recognize it and then center ourselves back in the present moment. So all meditation is it's a practice, just like anything. When you were in grade school, we all had to practice how to handwrite. Now, I still write like a third grader, okay? Some of us got a lot better than me at writing, right?
Yeah.
However, though, right, it is a practice. And I could probably improve my handwriting if I wanted to, but it's just not that important to me, right? But
Yeah.
we will give the time and attention to the things that are really and important. And I think our mental health is pretty important.
Mm.
And I think being mentally healthy for other people, so when they react in a way that's not healthy, we have the mental capacity to be mentally healthy in that moment.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So
It
so
does.
through meditation, right? It's not easy because we all have thoughts. We have around 6,000 thoughts a day and on average 6 to 8 thoughts a minute. So of course, yes, I have thoughts. I've been meditating for the last 8 years, which to some that might seem like a lot, to some that's barely anything. They've been meditating for 30, 40, 50 years. So, however, though, we all still have thoughts, even when we meditate, even people who've been meditating 20 plus years, they still have some form of activity in their brain happening as they meditate,
Mm.
right? However, we practice recentering ourselves on the anchor, which will use our breath. We use the body scan, which will use various parts in our body to anchor ourselves, only focusing on that specific body part. We'll use mindful eating to truly connect with our food because some of us overeat, right? And we need to slow down to really connect with our food, right? Because some of
Yeah.
us were just eating out of this over pleasure sense, right? And that's what life is most of us, right? We're overeating, over drinking, oversleeping, whatever it is, because we want that sense of pleasure and we want to avoid pain,
Yeah, it
right? But
is.
through
It's a
through
way of
my
it's a way of numbing it because it's a way of coping is how I learned because it's your way of coping. It's like I do this, it will help me cope better, and it's a constant battle for him because you are like I'm getting better, I'm getting better.
Yeah, it is. It is. It is because life is hard. Like, let's just be honest. Life is not easy, right? The moment we wake up, we're fighting against pain, right? When you wake up, I'm tired. I don't necessarily always jump out of bed and like, let's attack the day, right? I want an extra 5 minutes.
Yeah,
But I think that's where having like that finding a bigger purpose. And some people like I found it took me a long time to figure out my purpose, but what I realized is that serving other people is probably one of the greatest purposes we can have in our lives. And all of us can serve somebody. All of us can help somebody. All of us can give someone a helping hand.
yeah,
And when we stop making it about ourselves, which I was for a long time, wanting to make money and become wealthy and looking at the lifestyle of the rich and the famous, and when I gave that up and said, that's actually not going to make me happy because when I was chasing money, that was probably when I was the least happiest. And you hear that all the time, right? That's like not in a original story there. But you sometimes you just have to experience things for yourselves, right? You can read all the self-help books you want, you can hear all the stories you want, but until you really experience the pain of that yourselves, so chasing money for me, like the envy, going back to my friend, like chasing money, wanting that lifestyle, what I realized is that was never going to make me happy.
yeah,
And peace and happiness is actually available right now, right here, despite what's going on in my life, despite what anyone just said to me. If I can actually have peace right now in this moment, doesn't mean maybe in 5 minutes I might have a thought, right? But I can always bring myself back to center with meditation. And it's a
and
practice, right? I wasn't
yeah,
always there. I wasn't there at first, right? It took time, but it's I think through mindfulness we also learn non-judgment. Like that's a key principle in mindfulness is learning not to judge ourselves, and that's very hard. I judged myself and I still do sometimes, but a lot less. But we judge ourselves in the decisions that we make. And one thing that keeps us in a cycle of repeating things over and over is shame. And when we feel shame, we'll just end up in that same loop cycle to
yeah,
cope or whatever it is, right? And we turn back to the same thing or the same person, the same relationship for that comfort to cope. But ultimately, it just leads us right back into that same cycle of, you know, uh, struggling or suffering.
yeah. So you created because I've been researching, you created this app, Mindful Budding. I assume it's accumulation of everything that you learnt yourself, and also it was down to helping others because it's about, developing something that is out there to help others. And, I like the concept of it because from the looks of how I've been looking into it, it's a very insightful way of helping. It's a simple way of helping people without going into the depths of like feeling you have to do this, you have to do that. It's a step-by-step ease of use app.
Hmm.
So can you talk about the app and how it was for developing and how you feel it would help others?
Absolutely. So as someone, I have two children, 4 and 1.5. I work full time. I'm getting my master's degree, and I'm also developing this app. To say I'm busy, would be sort of an understatement. So I totally get the life of the busy person. And one day I was sitting in my office, and it's like even I am struggling to find time to meditate. So if I'm someone who's getting my master's degree in it and devoting my life to this, and even I sometimes struggle to find the time with my busy life and taking care of children and that being hectic sometimes, how can people who don't even have a meditation habit, who don't even know really what meditation is, they think it's just some Middle Eastern, practice that people do in India who are gurus or something, right? And that's nowhere near where they're at in their life, and that just doesn't apply, right? Like, so how can I create something that's going to be able to help those people develop a mindfulness habit? And that was really where I kind of had an aha moment, just sitting at my desk of like, with our busy lives, we need something that's going to integrate into our life. And that's my goal, we're developing it. We're in the beta testing phase right now, so it's not quite perfect yet, but the goal of it is to integrate into your calendar. So whether you use Google, like any virtual calendar, we'll start with Google Calendar, but for the AI to actually be able to read your calendar and then find available moments in your calendar and schedule meditation into your calendar.
Yeah.
Because I know, like for me, I follow my calendar religiously. So if it's in my calendar, I will do it, right? If it's not in my calendar, it's a 50-50 chance,
Yeah.
okay? And some people, look, I realize not everyone uses a virtual calendar, but the goal of my app is really to help those people who are living busy lifestyles. They're constantly on the go, and like they're the ones that say, I don't have time. And I actually implore you that you do have time. It's just we got to make the time or find the time. And with the availability of AI, I think that's possible.
Yeah. And AI over the last 5, 10 years, I would say 5, 10 years at least, AI's gone such a long way.
It
Now,
has.
it may seem like, and I know people will doubt AI for a lot of reasons, but AI is the way forward. You know, when I first encountered AI 10 years ago, it was a very basic AI.
Hmm.
I look at AI now, and it's like you're talking to a real person.
It's incredible. And people don't realize this, but they're using AI. They've been using AI before ChatGPT even existed.
Exactly.
Right. But people don't really realize what AI is. It's kind of this magical black box that is hyped up with a lot of marketing, and it is quite incredible what it can do now. It is amazing, right?
And
But
it's
ultimately,
how it's developed is how I'm saying, you know, like you said, it was a little black box. Now it's a big black box where
yes.
it's lit up, it's fancy, it's I don't know if you've seen the show The Circle. They had an AI bot on there from a couple seasons ago on The Circle, and they made it like a real person. And the reason it was so convincing, because it was feeding off what others was telling it, and
Hmm.
it made it a stronger person to make it a real person. So with mindfulness, AI is a way of motivating you if you don't have someone, because not everyone has someone in their lives, is that extra push from that AI to push you.
Exactly. And that's the real goal is like, have you ever seen the movie Hero
Yes.
and the character Big?
Mm,
I think he's called.
yeah.
Is that his name?
Think so.
Yeah, I think that's where I kind of got the idea from, and that's where I see the direction of Mindful Buddy going, is this mental health buddy that almost knows us better than we know ourselves. It knows our habits, knows our routines, it knows what we eat, it knows how much we sleep, and through the AI, it can calculate all of that and then make best suggestions for us. So this is just our minimum viable product. You got to start somewhere. But the hope is over time is this to really become a mindful companion, a mindful buddy that's integrated into your life and knows you better than you know yourself. And that
Yeah.
might seem scary to some because maybe there's a little bit of unpredictability there, but it's with the mindful. Like we're developing it with mindfulness, right? The whole goal is surrounded around mindfulness. So nothing other than just helping you live a more mindful lifestyle. So that could, are we being mindful of what we eat, how much we eat? Are we being mindful of how much movement we have in our life? Are we mindful of, maybe how much vitamin D or how much we've gone outside, right? Are we mindful, right? So are we mindful of how much our mind has been wandering? Are we caught up in the thoughts, right? Because studies show that we're the least happiest when our mind is ruminating. So when
Okay.
we're present in the moment, we feel a bit happier when we're not thinking about what we have to do in the future. We're not thinking about what just happened yesterday or the drama we're caught up in. But when we're right here, we're sitting down, we can feel our feet planted on the ground, the weight of the gravity of our feet against the flat, firm ground. And you're truly present to those sensations of your feet on the ground.
Because you feel
Like
grounded when you,
that's a good moment.
yeah.
Right? Nothing bad is happening, right? But we can get so lost and our thoughts become conditioned, right? If you look at our mind and our mind is it's a term called neuroplasticity. So it's like actually like plastic, right? But our brain takes these shapes and these neural grooves, right? So we have conditioned responses because if we have to think about everything, like if you had to think about the amount of pressure you need on your left foot to take a step, we would all go insane. So, in order to save our minds from just overload of too much thinking, we have to use our subconscious mind, which is conditioned over time. So, all of that conditioning from our parents in childhood and whoever might have influenced us into adulthood, right? That's been conditioned into our brains. So, our thoughts and our habits are conditioned. And that's why they're so hard to break because they're so comfortable. But a lot of us have these unhealthy thoughts, right? But we can't get away from them because they're ingrained in our mind. And we have to introduce something new into our life to change it because if nothing changes, we don't change. And we'll keep getting the same results. Because again, our mind works on conditioning and it works on these groove patterns. It's just like a record player. If you play the same record, you're going to get the same songs. If you change the record player, then you'll get different songs. Same things with our brain. You can't change your brain. What you can introduce is new habits like going to the gym, meditating, eating healthier. But if we try to do too much at too soon, it's overload and we'll always revert back to our habits. But that's why I say something is better than nothing. And that's what I love about Mindful Buddy is it's going to integrate into your lifestyle and it's going to help you by just introducing short mindful moments into your life. And I always say, like, look, it would be better for you to show up at the gym, take a step in the gym, and leave and not do anything. Literally, don't even do anything. It would be better for you to do that for the first 21 days than you go to the gym the first day, work out 2 hours, get so sore the next day, you hate it and never want to go again.
Mm.
Right? I would rather you develop the habit of just going because eventually you're going to be like, well, I'm here, might as well just go inside and do something, right?
Yeah.
So the habit, like literally just showing up for 1 minute and recognizing you need to focus on your breath is better than nothing. Because eventually, if you do that every day, you'll say, what about 2 minutes? What about 3 minutes? What about 5 minutes? What about 10 minutes? Right? And it's a compounding effect. So start small, build the habit over time, and we can always add more.
And I've learned that over the years as well. It's about how you start something small and then it's better to start off small than you, like I said, it's about the drowning effect. You don't want to do something big and end up thinking, how can I do this? If you start,
Exactly.
and that's where the roots are when you start small. And there is you've heard of this probably. It's like you've got a little grain of seed. They always say the mustard seed. It's a little grain of mustard seed. See how that grows over time if you just let it grow naturally. It will grow big and strong and firm.
It will.
And
Absolutely.
that does take time as well. And it's same goes for even when you plant an acorn tree or a oak tree, little tree. It
Hmm.
has to start somewhere. It isn't a tree when you just put it in, unless you replanting a tree. But a big tree, you're not replanting that. That started off as something small.
Right. But ultimately times we just see the end result and we want that. We want the mighty
Yeah.
oak tree,
Yeah, it's
right?
like, I could look outside my window now and say, oh, I like that tree. I wish I was that. But you can't. It takes time.
Right. But that's where the judgment part comes of it, right? So we'll say things are taking too long, right? And
Mm.
we don't give ourselves the space to just be. Just be. Like I've heard this phrase. I didn't come up with this, but I think it was from John Kabat-Zinn, but he says we're always human doing. We're doing, doing, doing. When are we just being? Human being. Like we're called human beings, but how often are we just being?
Exactly.
Like just be. It's okay.
I agree with that. Totally. So, obviously, people are part of the beta, you're saying. And
Yes.
obviously, people will be wanting to be part of potentially the beta or even want to know when the app's available on App Store, Play Store, wherever it's available. Would you recommend people joining the beta first or wait till the final product's out there?
I'd be happy to have more beta testers. We're actually getting very close to our maximum amount for iPhones. I think we only have maybe 5 or 10 slots left for iPhones, but we have plenty of slots left for Androids. However, our beta testing will end in February 12th, and the app will go live in the App Store February 13th. But we're actually gearing up for our Kickstarter launch. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Kickstarter,
I've heard
David.
of Kickstarter. We've had
Heard of
that in England.
Kickstarter?
Yeah.
It's a great platform that helps startup businesses like myself. I'm a solopreneur and I've used a lot of my own personal funding to build this app. And apps just, if anyone wants to know, they're not cheap to build. If
I
you
know
don't
that
have
full well.
yeah, if you don't have any developer skills, maybe you might want to learn some if you want to build an app, or it's just gonna, it costs a little bit of money. So with that and said, I really wanted to invite beta testers, get direct feedback from people who are enjoying the app and would like to see it improve, while also hopefully developing a community that believes in the mission of mindfulness. Because my true mission is I want to see every single child practicing mindfulness in grade school.
Mm, I agree.
Like that's my true mission. And that's my true belief is that if, we have all these mental health issues in the West. We have school shootings, right? And it blows my mind that we aren't teaching something as simple as mindfulness to kindergartners, first graders, second graders, third graders, fourth graders, and all the way up. It should be taught in every grade, and it should mandatory be 5 or 10 minutes of the day in the morning and in the afternoon. 20
Mm,
minutes out of the day. They're literally just doing nothing but learning the entire day for 6 to 8 hours. Like they can take 20 minutes to practice some mindfulness. That's going to be a tool they can use for the rest of their life to help them deal with difficult situations in life and have greater emotional intelligence and not be so caught up in their thoughts and living more present in the moment, which we know
mhm.
leads to greater satisfaction and happiness in life. So
Yeah,
why wouldn't we want to teach our youth that?
yeah, I agree with that. So, obviously you said you still want a few more beta testers initially. Is there
Yes.
an email or website that they can get hold of?
So they can email me at support@mindfulbuddy.ai, or they can go onto our website, which is www.mindfulbuddy.ai/Kickstarter.
Okay, and that's where the Kickstarter will be as well, if people
Um,
want to.
So if they want to sign up for notifications through email, and if they want to join our WhatsApp group, so we have a WhatsApp group where all the beta testers are in and giving feedback. So if they go to the website, there's a landing page there. You have to input your name and email. From there, you can then join the WhatsApp group, which I will receive your request and I will personally message you. And then from there, I'll be able to help you get set up as a beta tester. If you don't have WhatsApp or you don't like WhatsApp, you can then just email me and I can help you through email get set up that way. If you want to just email me at support@mindfulbuddy.ai.
Okay, and the last ultimate question, and I always ask this, what words of inspiration would you say to people to help them develop on their journey?
Hmm. I think it just starts with a law. One of my favorite books is The 15 Laws of Invaluable Growth by John Maxwell. And the first chapter is the law of awareness. And I think it's really hard to make any change in our life if we're not aware of what changes need to be made. So I would just encourage people that through either meditation or journaling, of course, I'm biased and I would love for you to come join my app, but I would love more for you to just take action in your life. And I think that's the most important thing is just developing a habit of awareness. And you can gain that through meditating and seeing the thoughts that arise in the moment and then journaling those thoughts down and realizing that those thoughts don't have power over you. And then I would say focusing on bringing new information into our lives because where our focus goes, our energy flows. So if we're listening to the wrong things, we're talking to the wrong people, hung by the tongue, what you say is what you'll attract into your life. Our mind is a magnet. So what you speak and what you think is what you're attracting. So if you're thinking negative and you're speaking negative, don't be surprised when negative things come your way.
I understand totally. Jeremy, thank you for sharing your journey with us today. I hope the app will be a success and hope people will be on board for the success of it as well in helping it further.
Well, I really appreciate you, David. Thank you so much for helping me, and thank you for bringing me on here today to talk about Mindful Buddy and my experiences. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
The Journey podcast explores stories of personal growth, challenges, and life-changing moments. Each episode dives into unique experiences, offering insights and inspiration for listeners navigating their own paths. I believe everyone has a story worth sharing. If you'd like to share your journey with David and others, email your story to wisewords1983@reborn.com, and it may be featured in a future episode.